The interview has been edited from my side. I've sent it to TEDx Darmstadt team. That's their video, that's their decision where they want to publish it. And the moment they decide that, I will let you guys also know where that is published, if in case you want to go and watch it, the full-length video. But today, it's about my take on the whole interview after reflecting. Basically, because of how my brain works, I just love to find the underlying connections and trying to see if there's something overarching. Is there a pattern that is repeated in all these seemingly separate dots? When you find the root thing, then you can concentrate on creating the right solutions that at the same time targets many problems at the same time. But that's why I always like to go to the root of things and finding the overarching problem. And I definitely did find a little bit of overarching ideas, and that's what I want to focus on. And some highlights of very interesting takes which I have not maybe heard before in the way that they were describing it. And I will end that video this way. The main overarching idea is decoupling. And this is a conclusion I came up with when I kept hearing the word shallow, describing the problems that they were seeing in different aspects, in information, in art, in social media. They use the word shallow a lot. Shallow. When people say something is shallow, it means it's detached from its essence, and the essence is the purpose of it. What does it connect me with on a deeper level? What people are observing in almost every aspect of our lives these days is that there's a decoupling that has happened between the end result, what we observe on a surface level, what something is, and the purpose of it. Why this thing needs to exist. Why do we want this? What is it serving? Which is the purpose. And usually this purpose part is the complex aspect of it, the thing that is hard to control and hard to scale in a controllable way. A bit abstract, wasn't it? Now it will start to become less abstract. Let's start with connection. When I say connection and social life, what is the dominant solution that has been introduced? Social media, right?
What do you think is so off with the flow of life right now that someone would ask, what is it even to be a human? What do you think those aspects are?
For me, like the biggest noticeable aspect is how the nature of social interactions are changing. So especially with AI and people being more active online on social media, it has been very surprising to see how like social interactions in real life are just so shallow, and people seem to rely on machines more than people, like on each other these days. It's really amazing because if you like, for me, when I go on a bus or something, I see people chatting with ChatGPT and asking it questions about their personal life, and I think to myself, well, how good would it be if that person had another person in their life that they could rely on and ask those questions to? So that sense of emotional support that we should be gaining from each other, because humans are a social animal inherently, that thing is transitioning towards the dependency on technology. And that's the biggest change that I am observing right now.
Just keep in mind, I have a question. You said dependency. Shouldn't it be empowering? Why do you use the word dependency? But we come back to you again.
And social media, even though the consumerism in social media feels like it's supposed to imply a connection, I've never felt disconnected this way.
Interesting, you know, there's a lot of people who know that they're over consuming social media. If you look at the papers, almost every single paper had something to say negatively about social media. So we all know it. What is it about? Why are we still on it? Why do we still keep doing it even though we know?
Regarding social media consumption, it's not that we don't want, we want to exclude the social media. I as a person, I try to uninstall the apps to get away from it. But I feel like there is some kind of invisible thread that is pulling me towards it. It's more like, am I missing out on something? Am I, it's not like, I know deep down that it's just virtual thing, I'm not really missing out on anything, but I still want to get the feeling like I'm included in the conversations that my friends are having. It's more like I need to be in that community. So social media creates that virtual space where I feel like I'm in a community, but it's really shallow.
I think the main reason for me probably being that it's a very easy option. Human connection with other individuals, it requires some effort. You need to firstly put yourself out there and be available to make those connections, and care about other people. With social media, it's sort of, it gives you that pseudo connection feeling,
Yes.
that you are seeing people and that you relate to them. You relate to influencers or celebrities.
Kind of, you're saying there's something deep down in our societies that we chase convenience and just easier answers instead of real answers that are actually harder to do.
Exactly.
So the social media thing maybe is just a representation of a bigger, deeper problem that we have, that the norms of the society maybe are a bit off.
And just to keep the nuance here, I am on social media right now. And a lot of things that I know and I learned about has been through YouTube and social media and watching podcasts and stuff like that. So there are very positive aspects to it. But we cannot deny also the negative aspects of the things that has been promised. These things has been marketed as, but what they're really doing. What is it about social aspects that we need so deeply as human beings that we need solutions for? What is the purpose of it? Belonging. We want to belong. What does belonging mean?
We had the workshop, it felt so good. We had a sense of belongingness. We are from very different backgrounds, very different regions, and still to have all these thoughts in each one of us, to have these cluster of thoughts that came up together, it was something really beautiful for me. It was like so magical for me that I kept on yapping about all day.
She felt a strong sense of belonging in the workshop, but she do not feel a sense of belonging in social media or even when people come together.
When she said that we need to find our like-minded people, but even when we find people, our talk does not go that deep. We don't have that kind of space where we can express our thoughts or our opinions. Even with a group of friends, we do not go that deep, and our discussions are basically on what we are listening, what we are viewing. We don't have a space to express our feelings or anything like that. It's more like
But we have to.
we don't have that space anymore. That's what I feel.
Why is that? What's the difference? In the workshop, the way it was structured, the thoughts and lived experiences of every person mattered. Every single person contributed to the end result. There's a lot of events and stuff like that out there that they promise, yeah, we connect you with other people, but when you go there, you do not feel connected with other people. There's a very simple test that you can do if you're, for example, creating an event with the purpose of connecting people together. How much of a difference does it make if you take one person out of that and replace them with another person? How much change does it cause in the end result of this whole event? If it's very low, it means it's another form of consumption. If it's very high, it means you're doing a good job in creating an environment for connection. Because really, a true sense of connection and belonging is when you feel seen and heard, and your input and your life and your existence there made a difference in the outcome. Okay, you mattered. You were appreciated, you were seen. For example, an event where you just sit down and listen to someone inactively and listening to them. If they take me out and put another person, they can do the same thing. They can listen but if the event is about every single person contributing something very unique about them in the event, and it makes a difference in the outcome, then you're talking about real belonging. Friendship. What is friendship? Is having shared stories and shared memories with, so this shared lived experiences with someone else. Having a sense of we've done life together. We have these memories together that we can reflect upon. Another aspect about social life which is really important is a very practical aspect of problem solving. It's a way of being resilient towards problems of life that we face. Why? Because at any given time you may be in a difficult situation, but there are people in your community that hold you, do not let you sink in too far. And in another time, you are the person that is strong and can hold the other person up and not letting them sink too far down. And that's a beautiful thing. And then ask yourself in social media, do you have these aspects? Do you have really shared stories and shared memories with them in a real way? Do you have a strong sense of belonging to them? No, because the requirement of real belonging is you being yourself around someone. that you belong with them. The very base of social media is this performative aspect of social life, which is just surface level. You cannot be yourself. You are not yourself. This belonging aspect is also not that strong. Do you really have these people as people that you can rely on if life gets hard? No. So these are the real things that we really need social aspects for. But what social media does, as a hijacker of this need, deep need that we have, they've just taken this superficial aspects of what social life looks like, a bunch of people getting together and talking and interacting. They just take that part, which is easy to scale, throw the real deal away, and they just scale that. And because it looks like the real deal, yeah, I mean, social life is about talking and interacting, you know, we easily fall for it. And pseudo. When people describe something as pseudo, indicator that something has been hijacked and been altered into something simpler and more scalable, but it's not the real deal. Now, the same thing, decoupling in art also. But before I expand on it again, take a look.
I would also say that it's not only restricted to social media, it's like spread out to all kinds of media that we consume these days. Like if you listen to songs, the lyrics are always, I don't know, really superficial or even AI generated sometimes. Like we don't know which artist wrote those lyrics by himself or used AI. Even music is AI generated, like there are AI generated artists out there. And also movies, like the plot lines and the dialogues are being...
Why is it so important for you that it is real?
Well, for me, these kinds of media like music and films always serve the purpose of an escape from reality. So I always looked for a sense of fantasy, human imagination in these elements. But when you sort of dumb it down or make it superficial or put too much realism into it, then it pulls me back to reality and it does not serve the purpose of why I'm consuming that media in the first place.
Another question. What is it about imagination? You said I'm looking for human imagination. On the other side, you say AI. This is generative, right?
Yeah.
So what is it about generative and imagination that you do not see a fit between?
For me, that human touch
And more people can add to it.
For me, that human touch is missing.
What is that human touch that generative doesn't?
Like
For me, it's about our own thoughts that need to be conveyed through art, through anything we create. And AI simply cannot do this because AI will just use what already exists. It is about original thoughts. It's about originality for me.
Why is originality important? Why?
We need to be able to identify that some thoughts are really coming from us and not just from what we are seeing everywhere. Like the point we had earlier, it's about being flattened into ideas that exist and ideas that are accepted.
What are you afraid of if we lose our imagination and that originality? Are you afraid, there's something that you're afraid of, you know, what is going to lead to? Maybe repetitiveness? What is it exactly that captures your fear, really?
For me, I would say it's the loss of autonomy over myself, the loss of control over my own thoughts and decisions that shape my life and shape into what kind of a person I'm becoming. Because if my thoughts, as you mentioned earlier, if my thoughts are a product of my environment and of what I see online, then I'm not really thinking for myself anymore. Then can I truly claim that the life I built for myself is really made by my own hands? Or is it because I was influenced by everything around me?
So you're kind of afraid that we all become copy-pastes of the same patterns that has been programmed
Exactly.
by the norms.
I think for me it's so important to identify what thoughts of mine are really my own. Am I even capable of having original thoughts in this generation, in this era?
And I think for me it's like the fact that it's another form of human interaction. When you consume or when you listen to somebody's art or somebody's story, somebody's poem, somebody's book, it's something that has influenced them, either like even if it's fantasy, even if it's not part of their lives, even if it's not an autobiography, it's been influenced, the writing style, everything, that human touch that we were talking about, that's everything that a human has experienced in their life, and I want to experience that. And I don't want something that's just watered down. I don't want something that's just a pool of information that's been used, right? And I feel like the separation between that working and that world, that generative world, and then the one of creation of human interactions. I think there needs to be a clearer line between those two, because right now I feel like everything's meshed into one another. And then there's also the problem of artists getting their work stolen from AI, and of course that generative thing, that it needs something, it needs the material for it, and a lot of artists don't give consent for that because that's their life work, and that's being used for other people for other purposes that they didn't want to, and that consent is not there.
Again, loss of autonomy.
I just wanted to add something regarding the magic that we've lost with the co-creating. Like everything is AI generated nowadays. Poems and stories and everything are written down from human experience, from human flaws, human thoughts. So it is more like we can actually resonate with each of this. We feel like, okay, there are people out there who have the same kind of feeling. So poems and stories that when an author or when a human writes it, it feels like it is part of us. It also gives us a sense of belonging. But now with AI generated, it is more of a lot of it is how do I put it? It's more like a lot of information, and then just AI just generate it based on some kind of plot lines that they have, or some kind of structure or box that they have, and it does not go beyond that.
So you mean the purpose of art and music has been decoupled from the end result? So as long as it sounds good and it just hypes something up is enough, but the story of the artist, what made her, like what was about the artist that caused that creation, which was a sense of, oh, another human being felt that way just like me, and feeling a sense of connection to something bigger than yourself because a human created that. That is gone. Am I missing something, or?
No, this is exactly what I meant regarding the human connection stuff, and also it's. Can you just repeat what you said? I just want to.
Which part? The decoupling?
Yeah.
Yes, there's a decoupling between the end result and the meaning, the purpose behind the thing, or the deeper thing that created it.
That makes you wonder, like, does that make the art lose its integrity? Does the purpose not serve itself anymore? Is art not there for us anymore, but just as a means of bringing in profit and not really making you think? Exactly, like not making you think and reflect.
We're seeking connection through art. But what has art turned into? Again, they take this art, this surface level aspect of it, which the generative AI creates very well. Again, the purpose of it has been detached. Okay, the same thing with information and awareness. Take a watch.
Maybe our relationship with information is really wrong right now. What is information for?
It's not that we're not aware. We know we know every name for every feeling that we have. We know the terms. We know how to overcome it. But still, we're not doing anything about it. We're just flaunting the awareness. That's it. It's not like. To me, it feels like we have the information, and we feel like maybe later we can think about it. But we rarely just consume the information. We just keep it aside and we never go back to it. It's just kept aside. That's it.
The meaning and the context behind that information kind of is not something that we have made. What do I want to achieve, and how does this information fit into that context to elevate that context or story that we want to make for ourselves? The meaning behind those information, where does it fit? What's the weight of that information?
Because we have too much information, we before we didn't have this much information embedded in our brain. Now our brain is constantly processing this information and we get nothing done because it's too much for us. Like I've recently read something like, this is not we are meant for. Human brain is not meant for these much information to be overloaded in our brains, but we are constantly bombarded with information regarding everything. So this information has lost its meaning on the way because it's too much for us to consume.
So it's the information not serving its purpose.
Because we're just consuming constantly, and I feel because this consumption is just constant without much of a break, we don't really reflect on what we're consuming and if we want to consume these things, what it makes us feel as well. I feel before the age of social media, it was common for people to watch movies, read books, and then think about what they had read, if they like this, what it means for their life, if it resonates with us, to reflect, exactly.
Just consume without reflection.
Exactly, I feel...
What does it mean in our own lives?
Yeah, what it means in our own lives. And a lot of the times, I feel we also, instead of reflecting, I think the norm now has also become looking for other people's reactions, seeking other people's approval on something.
Can I also renew the mic for her because she... But yeah.
Also, like, I'm not saying awareness is a bad thing, because social media definitely led to a lot of progress in the human evolution, but knowing too much actually feeds into that societal pressure of, oh, everything is so easy, then why aren't you doing more right now? And that leads to us feeling like we're constantly behind, because since it's made to seem so easy, and since all the information is literally out there, just like one click away, then why aren't we doing more with our time? Why aren't we doing more in our career? Why aren't we achieving more, proving more? And that leads to us like not enjoying the moment and keep thinking about the future and about what we're supposed to do next. Like, are we consuming media to learn something from it for our life, or are we just watching it just like that? Yeah, just to watch, just to gain more information. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a problem, but it's the fact that we have too many options to choose from. Like, okay, I have this linear set path for my career that I want to follow, but I have like 100 million options to reach those goals. Or if I want to fight somebody about my opinion, I also have 100 million social media platforms to do that on. It's this thing of there are so many options to choose from. Which one is right for me? How do I choose the one that is right for me? And which one is going to turn out to be the best one for my life?
Comes from our lack of maybe awareness of ourselves that is overwhelmingly too much. The people that get the time to get to know themselves usually have an easier time picking things because they have an intuition for what is kind of for me and what is not. But majority of us do not get the time to even figure out who we are, to explore, like you said, not this linearity. And when we do not know what is for us, we just look around. Maybe it's coming from that deeper level of not knowing ourselves well.
Always ask this question, always. What is information really for? Reality is complex, very multidimensional. By gaining new information and hearing different perspectives, it's like looking at this complex thing from very different angles, and it helps you get closer to what this reality is. And when you have more information of what this reality is really about, the quality of your decisions get better because you have a better understanding of how the reality works. So this is the beauty of information for me. What's turning this beautiful thing called information into a very negative thing even sometimes in our lives is this fact that exponentially a lot of input, but you have absolutely no knowledge of yourself, so you cannot weigh information because you cannot filter anything from anything. Everything has the same weight, everything is important, and everything is urgent. So every information coming in almost has the same level of importance to you. And then take the reflection part out because you're constantly bombarded with new input. This reflection sits between these two, the information, then you reflect on how you can fit it into your life. And the reflection part is taken away, and the part that you know yourself is not for most people there. Why? In education, there is absolutely no focus on you getting to know yourself. It's just not there. It's not relevant. You knowing yourself and what you want is not relevant. You just need to get good grades and do the right thing. So you're completely disconnected from what you want. You don't know who you are. You don't have any self-awareness. And then the reflection times never happen. So you take these two important factors out and you just expand this input. We get into this vicious cycle of just gaining more information and flaunting awareness, as Nida, for example, described it this way. Flaunting awareness, but nothing really changes. So the purpose of this whole thing of gaining new information, which was to change behavior based on the information you got, is no longer there. Again, a decoupling. They saw the same thing in different things. For example, take a look.
That's what I also wanted to say. There's so much like emphasis put on logic and on profit and on all these numbers that we forget that everything inherently that we're doing should be serving humans, right? Everything inherently that we're creating should be for the well-being of humans. And it's the same thing with politics and with the economy. It's a lot of statistics and a lot of numbers that are being thrown around, but at the end of the day, nothing will work out and nothing is going to matter if it's harming the people that it's supposed to be serving.
The purpose of everything we create should be serving people, but she's seeing a decoupling here also.
The world is actually designed to make us feel this way because we go to fast food restaurants to eat highly processed foods. We consume fast fashion, buying stuff that is questionably made.
So food, the purpose of it is to nourish us. But we are surrounded with, in our life, we're surrounded with things that look like food, but they are anything but food. They have nothing to nourish us. They make us sick, even. Because they have been manipulated. Even production of sugar. Sugar is also a decoupling. They decouple, they detach sugar from fiber, which is the protective of this sugar getting very dangerous for us. They detach it and they use only the sugar and they throw away the fiber. Even in the production of sugar, you can see how this whole world works. So everything that they expressed here is independently from me, because I consciously did not share this video with them, because I didn't want anyone to be impacted by. I found an interesting connection to my own decision about Passtillios and stuff like that. Why I have such a difficult time disconnecting the purpose of this all from the end result, which are the clothings. I think that's exactly because of this. Now that I have the end result, if I now decouple it from the purpose that was the beginning of it all for me, am I not the same person as they? How do you say it? This feels like capitulating to the very thing that I'm standing up against. The fact that I do not want to decouple my purpose, the purpose of this whole clothing and the purpose from its end result. I don't want to be the next person who does that. I'm very unwilling to do that. And some other highlights which I found interesting. So take a look.
I remember a discussion together about individual and collective. I think that was a big thing that plays into this problem.
Idea of the flow was that as an individual, you really can't go against the flow. You feel alienated. You'll feel like you're getting pushed out of it or getting
too much
pushed
to handle
with
for
them,
one person,
right? And that, in combination with, what if you find your own people? What if you find people, like-minded people, people that have the same, anything that kind of protects you feel like you're yourself in. That is individualism. Like, we talked about the fact that individualism and collectiveness is not the opposite of each other, right?
You get the information, you consume it, and it resonates with you, but you go back to a world, to the same group of people that do not have that information, and that pressure overweighs that information that you just got, because the people around you still are the same.
Yes.
And they do not believe in what you just figured out.
Yes.
That context kind of overpowers it.
Yes, that's exactly what we're saying, like connect to disconnect, in the way of like you don't feel lonely. You don't feel like you're missing out once you're out of that bubble, because you have your own people. You have the people that support you, and I feel like everybody has their own minds and their own ideal way that they want to live outside of whatever has been set as the norm. And I feel like if the norm is whatever is surrounding you, whatever you feel like everybody else around you is doing, right? And I feel like if you surround yourself with the right people and the right community, that's how you are able to disconnect with the people that you don't resonate with, and disconnect in the way of that you don't seek approval from those people anymore, that you don't feel like you have to conform to those people anymore.
That sounds counterintuitive, but it actually makes sense that the real individualism is in collectiveness. The overconsumption aspect that keeps coming up.
You wanted to say something also, right? Because you had the mic in your hand.
I think it's really important also to mention that we as humans have a unique ability to create and to reflect, and that's what a machine doesn't do. And when it strips our identity, it strips our ideas, I think we lose ourselves, and foremost we lose what it means to be human. And when we are overpowered, it may create this kind of extinction of being a human in itself. And because of this flattened identity and losing ourselves, we already witnessing it by people already being so shallow and so depressed, hopeless already, because they are powered by overconsumption and the loss of creativity. We will not we will not spread our creativity. And
I'm not interrupting. I'm trying to expand on the idea so that we don't stay in the surface. What is it about overconsumption that you think is robbing us of our humanity? And depression and hopelessness means that our livelihood is gone, right?
Yeah.
Is there a connection between overconsumption and livelihood, a lack of livelihood? Do you see a connection there? Because you said both of it at the same time.
I think overconsumption... You can also... No. Okay. Overconsumption and depression go together because we lose, or we even don't want to create or think and reflect, because we kind of are unable to create our own thoughts, to think. We need to make decisions, and we don't. We are becoming a shallow, like a picture of ourselves, not a human anymore. And overconsumption practically takes our words in our mouths from us, and we don't know what to believe, as you said, and we just are lost. And it feels us all lost and hopeless, unable to action. So the overconsumption takes, for example, ourselves fully.
So like overconsumption is basically too much of anything is bad, right? And overconsumption leads to this like vicious cycle that as we said before, it leads to this dependency. If I'm over-consuming something, I become dependent on it. So when I'm not using it at the moment, then I become anxious without it, which leads me to again go back to it because I feel like I can't live without it. And this vicious cycle prevents me from coming out of my own shell and developing as a person.
We become a shallow picture of ourselves, which is not us. You know, so overconsumption is the process that detaches us from ourselves. Our thoughts, what is me? Us being faced against one another is a way that we lose our impact. It's beautiful how she said it.
I think it's also what I have noticed, that people, even when they want to address something or speak on something and they do it on the internet, they face this like a number of people criticizing them and creating hate speech, but those are the same people who also want to change, but they're so like faced against each other. In the end of the day, people want the same thing: being human, feeling secure, providing future for our generation. And because of these radical opinions, you either with them or against them. And if you lose yourself in this radical behavior, you lose your identity and your personality, so you lose even your path. And sometimes you are often criticized if you go out of your path, and sometimes it's just our safe instinct to try and stay in this circle. It's not like numbness, but it's just feeling safe, because at the end of the day, you're either on the battlefield, battling for your opinion, even though you're just being authentic, or you're going in this dumb, vicious cycle of following the crowd. Because like we are losing a community, people are easily like put against each other. So when we are put against each other, we are losing our power, we're losing our impact, and that's what people want in the end of the day. The people who want to manipulate us, or it's not even people, it's this also AI and technology and people who don't even see themselves in the future. They try to script us, they try to destroy ourselves, our authenticity and our individualism.
It was a fun experience for sure. Thank you for watching. I hope you gained some insight to it. I have heard that the date is set is 20th of November. If you have time, join and come visit TEDx Darmstadt 2026. The speaker lists are amazing. I've already seen the speaker list. They're really, really interesting people. And keep up with them on the social media. TEDx Darmstadt, if you search that, you definitely find it. And you can get to know more about them. And yeah, I'm looking forward to their event for sure. It was a long video, but I hope it was worthwhile for you.